The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Hey everyone! Get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is the Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome, everyone. This is the first shiny episode of the Angry Chicken since the launch of Journey to Ungoro. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, and I'm sitting here like I always am with Mr. Willie Dills and Miss Jocelyn Moffat. How you two doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty hyped now. Pretty hyped. Taking a break from playing Ungoro to guess talk about it with you guys, but I'd like to.
Quick show. Let's get back to it.
Open the client.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to come down on you guys if you want to play while podcasting. Just make sure it's muted and you're keeping at least one of your ears functioning for the purpose of listening.
Attention?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh man, I cannot do that at all.
No, I can't either.
No?
I would have a terrible ladder experience, and you guys would have a terrible podcasting experience.
I feel like I could do
Can't
WoW.
split my attention like that.
I could do WoW dailies. That's about it. I think I could do WoW dailies and still complete a podcast. But Hearthstone, I don't think so. I don't think, especially right now. Oh, guys, I just lost to a Grimy Goons Paladin. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, there's kind of everything, a little bit of everything out there on the ladder, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Have you to explain to you the quality? It seemed of the deck that I just lost to. Have you two ever been to a particularly awful Taco Bell? Because
you mean, have I been to Taco Bell? Yeah.
I was like, are there good ones?
The way I grade my Taco Bells is that if I get my food and it looks like they put the ingredients in the bag and then shook the bag, that's a bad Taco Bell. Like you bring your taco out and nothing is where it should be.
Sure.
That's it. That's what this Grimy Goons Paladin deck looked like. It looked like he just took your standard kind of Grimy Goons deck and then a random assortment of Ungoro cards they happened to trip over, shook it up, decided that was their deck, and then beat me into submission with it.
Maybe they used the deck helper, and they were like, "Yeah, help me build the deck, Blizzard." And Blizzard was like, "This and this, and maybe some of this," because that's kind of how it works. I don't know if you used it.
Yeah, since you don't have this card, may we suggest this?
Yeah. They're like, "Oh, you're playing a zoo deck. We suggest Doomsayer." And you're like, "What? No, I'm on the board."
Yes.
Yeah. No.
It's kind of crazy right now. Hearthstone takes much more focus than it ever has before because I don't know what the hell is coming next.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just beautiful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
My streams have been amazing. I streamed for like 12 hours the launch day. I mean, we did like 4 hours of
we
pack
did a long
opening and
stream,
games.
yeah.
Granted, 2 hours of that was Heroes of the Storm.
Heroes of the Storm is true, but still counted as stream time. And yeah, we'll talk about like that a little bit. I guess that there was some problems with the launch, but then I went directly to get some lunch, came back, and streamed all the way until like 2 in the morning or something like that, and was having a friggin' blast the entire time. It was amazing. This was the most fun I've had on launch day in this game. Maybe even more than like vanilla when the game was just like so fresh and new. Mm-hmm. This just felt so good, all of it.
Mm. Yeah, it's pretty much the boat on.
Sorry, haters.
There's a lot of haters right now. We'll talk about that a little bit, probably towards the end of our news segment. But before we get into news, we do have to thank our sponsor, HelloFresh.com. This is the meal kit delivery service that makes cooking fun, easy, convenient, and all of that is very true because it makes even me capable of creating food that is not awful. I get to not go to crappy Taco Bells that shake all of my ingredients in a brown paper bag that is kind of soggy because of HelloFresh. And I get very excited when that box shows up to my door Even when it's like, even when you crack it open and you get your little pamphlets that have like step-by-step instructions about what the heck to cook, even if it's something where I look at it, I'm like, oh, that seems kind of normal, like a burger. It's always some spin on a burger that I would have never thought to do, and it's delicious. So, I dig it.
They're like, we put a taco inside this burger. Get it healthy. And here's step-by-step on how to make it. That's actually not one of the recipes, by the way. Don't quote me on that. But it could be HelloFresh if you're listening.
Could be.
Fair enough. But I've been really digging it. I like it quite a bit. If you're like me, if you're a nerd who's kind of bad at grocery shopping and eating healthy, HelloFresh will definitely help you accomplish that. And if you've never tried them before and you would like $30 off of your first week of deliveries, go to HelloFresh.com, enter the code TAC30, that's TAC 30, when you subscribe, and you'll save $30, and you'll let them know that the Angry Chicken sent you. And we think that would just be swell. So thank you, HelloFresh.com, for sponsoring this episode. And now, into this week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
So hey, Ungoro launched, and that's kind of it. That's the biggest news this week. Some esports stuff going on in the meantime and whatnot. And typically we would take a break to talk about that, but it is not this week because the darn expansion came out, and that's the only thing we're going to talk about today.
Angry Chicken is viable.
Angry Chicken is sort of.
In a few different ways.
Yeah.
Roach can use it.
I mean, you're still pushing it a little bit if you throw in that chicken, you know.
You are.
The boar, though. The boar is back.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Welcome to Hearthstone 2017, where Stone Tusk Boar is one of the most terrifying cards in the game. Mm-hmm. And for
There's
this,
actually quite a few cards. Like I was hoping somebody would clip this and send it to you, Joss. But I won a game the other day with Eye for an Eye. Like, legitimately won a game.
That's
because
amazing.
Hydrologist, there's only like 6 secrets Hydrologist can get. And I was playing against an Awaken the Maker or whatever. What's the Open the Waygate? Open the Waygate mage. And he was clearly trying to like murder me very soon. And he had Ice Block up. And I was like, oh, he's probably going to fireball my face next turn. Eye for an eye. Let's go. And sure enough, very next turn, fireballs my face. He is at 5 health. He died. It was great.
Eye for an eye, new meta. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, Josh proven correct finally.
It only took, what, 4 years?
Ahead of your time.
It only took 205 weeks. But you're right. You're finally right. Isn't Discover just the greatest thing to ever come to this damn game?
Yes.
Like, it can make a card like that. Like, yeah, why not? I'll take it because of the reason Dills just mentioned, and he ended up being right. Hooray. Just what the heck? The world of Hearthstone that we're currently living in. Yeah. So the launch was a little rough, right? Like, it went live, and obviously I feel like jerks like us, whose day job it is to sit around and wait to stream when a game launches, are going to be probably a little more miffed about this than, say, anyone with a normal job that you have to work until 5. You're probably like, cool, eat it, streamers. It'll be up when I get home. But I still had a good time. I mean, we were hanging out, the 3 of us, so we just ended up playing a bunch of Heroes of the Storm. And I got to get my bossy pants on.
But it's fine. I mean, I don't expect perfectly smooth launch days. I've been through enough of them now. Problems are going to happen. You just have to be kind of willing to roll with it a little bit.
Hey, man, ever since Blizzard stopped releasing expansions at midnight local to your time zone, I haven't given a crap because back then I used to be on the East Coast and be like, ha, California, I'm playing the new WoW expansion before you. And then they ended that, and I'm like, all right, whatever. When it's ready, I'll play it. So, I mean, you're absolutely right to go. You probably just expect it's not going to be up when you think it is. Not to mention, they never really announced the time. It's just that the game was...
No, they didn't.
No.
It's just that the game was back up, and a few people did get in, and it showed Ungoro, and they could start opening packs. And then, like,
I mean, it's our fault that it doesn't go smoothly. Let's be honest. I mean, it's, it goes live, and then everybody is
instantly
waiting to pounce.
Oh, see, right? I thought you were saying it was specifically just the 3 of us. That it's just three people too
like
many.
The player base, because they have a lot of certain. Yes, we could say, oh, why don't you buy tons of extra server space for the? It's like, no, that doesn't. That's not how it works. Just like ship in a whole bunch of extra servers just for launch. Like it's just, and they're aware and they know it's going to happen. They try to like lighten the load as best they can, but yeah, it's always going to happen like that when a game's this popular, right? An unpopular game will have no problem launching new expansions because there's not millions of people berating their store at one time. So.
All at the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought it was fine. Like it only took an hour plus something like that. I mean,
yeah, we got what
could have been worse.
Three heroes matches in, and
yeah.
had a lot of fun, and then we got to open packs, so it was a good day.
And maybe we interviewed too many developers or something, but I couldn't help like at the end of it, even after I complained publicly on Twitter that I really wanted to open my packs. I can't help but think that no matter how displeased we may be that we can't log in, I'm sure it's 10,000 times worse for everyone over at Team 5 who are just running around putting out fires trying to get the darn servers to work.
Sure.
Yeah. So, whatever the case. It's out now. We've had not even a week with it. It's Tuesday. It came out on Thursday.
It feels like it's been so much longer, though. I feel like I've played more Hearthstone in the last, 5 days than I have probably in the last 5 months. Like, I just can't get enough of the game. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, me as well. So real quick, before we talk about our for those that didn't watch our pack opening stream, how was everyone's pack openings? Let's start. Jocelyn, you have to go last because you're a jerk.
Okay.
Yeah, you actually have a really good story. I had about 170 packs, all said, and about 6 or 7 legendaries. I don't remember the exact number. I had 1 golden one, but with the 10.4K dust that Blizzard dumped on my lap because of the Golden Ragnaros, Sylvanas, and Azure Drakes and other cards. I was basically able to craft pretty much all the legendaries I wanted. I'm still missing a few. Like I don't have the Rogue plant that comes back to life yet, which actually does seem to be okay in Miracle Rogue. There's a couple other ones I don't have. Like I don't have like King Mosh or the other King for Hunter. I don't have those, which those are fine not to have, I don't think. But basically at this point, like I've been building a bunch of different decks and I haven't been running into any issues where I'm like, oh crap, I don't have this card. Most of the time I find that I have it or I have some dust to craft it at this point. So, and that was technically $110 plus all the gold that I had. So, and that's about as much as I would expect to get me to a point where I have a good collection. And if I was dusting all my goldens, I'd probably have like just about everything in non-golden form at this point. So I think that's about to be expected to try to have all the cards on launch day. So I felt like I did okay. I did pretty good. I think average at best.
With that boost in dust from all the cards that got moved into Wild, like I think I still have thousands of dust. Like I probably have 7,000 or 8,000. Like, but I mean, and I feel like I think I tried probably 5 or 6 different decks across all different classes, and I never really ran into a problem where I was like, I didn't have the card I was looking for, or I didn't, wasn't able to craft it. Yeah. And I think I crafted a bunch of the quests, and those are really the only legendaries that I crafted. So,
and if I knew what I'd know now, then I probably wouldn't have been like crafting all those quests right away. I think I probably would have saved a few of them because. Yeah, you don't really need them that much. Like they're great for a few classes, but they're not necessarily like the end all be all of this expansion. Like I think a lot of people think they are.
Yeah,
like, a lot of people are upset because they don't have quests. They're like, I can't play, no quests.
I have 3 classes that I didn't craft. And I crafted I think I opened 2 and crafted the other 4. But I'm actually finding, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in strategy, but I'm actually finding both my mage and my hunter decks work better without the quest.
Yes.
So.
Well, mage, there's the OTK version, but if you're trying to just play like a tempo mage type of thing, you don't really want the quest.
Yeah.
In fact, I was watching Hot Form's stream. He was playing like a elemental mage that had the quest. But basically, he threw the quest away against like half of his matchups. He was just like, I'm never going to complete it against these matchups. But in super greedy control matchups, I will end up completing it, so I'll hold on to it there. And that's kind of an interesting take on it, which a lot of people aren't using yet, which is like the quest is optional. You don't have to have it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can throw it. You can throw it back, and if for some bizarre reason you can complete it later in the game, then cool. If you never see it again, hopefully will work out because you threw it away on purpose, knowing what you're going up against.
Yeah. Like it's a card that you didn't need for this particular matchup. And actually, another point that I've been hearing several people make, which I think is true, there's less games going to fatigue now than there have been previously. And I think that's because most decks at some point, someone will turn the corner in a power level. It's not as much of this like everyone's playing even. Every kind of deck is somewhat built to do something broken at some point, which then just kind of snowballs them to victory.
Most decks that have come out in the 5 days we've had this expansion have an end game, which is very it seems like to me, my gut reaction is the game has slowed down in the first few turns.
Like you're not dead on turn 4 very often. You still can be. But most of the time what happens is like turn 8 or 9, you're like, oh crap, this is an unwinnable situation for me. Or like I can't lose from here.
Yeah,
right?
and we're talking strictly standard here. So obviously this does not necessarily apply to Wild where Reno is now king because it's the only place you can play him. But yeah, I mean, it's like it. I feel like I have time to think. I have time to react. I have time to develop my board. I don't know if it's going to stay this way. Who knows? You know, aggro might return in full force and just blow us all out. But
yeah, but even like, aggro rogue is quest rogue now, right? And quest rogue they're not like running you over on the first few turns. They're running you over after they get the quest done,
I've been
right?
getting so tilted by people who are calling it aggro rogue. I'm like, they're literally not touching you for the first 5 turns. That's not aggro.
They're pulling their minions back into their hand for the first 5 turns.
They
they're
might
not even touching your face.
Worst case scenario, they're tapping you for 2 in the face every turn for a few turns. But usually it's 1, and sometimes it's none. Because they decided to bounce their swashbuckler because they didn't find charging minions.
It looks aggro because if you look at the curve, there's like nothing over 3 mana, right? So obviously it looks very aggressive.
Yeah.
It's not technically an aggro deck. But like the weird thing too is like even, and I can't wait to watch, I haven't watched any of the tournament that's been going on today, the HGG. I watched like a little bit of it because it was on really early. Like
it was so early, yeah.
Yeah, I woke up and it was just
I woke
on.
up and it was done. I was like, what?
But so the... even like the Control Warrior matchups, historically, a mirror matchup that would go to fatigue and would be all about like not playing my Acolyte of Pain and not drawing cards and all this. Now they just start rag-shotting each other in the face at a certain point, and it is no longer going to fatigue, right?
Yeah.
Like the Taunt Warrior is a Control Warrior at this point. It's just at a certain point it starts shooting 8 damage fireballs out there
around the board,
and there's no more fatigue. Fatigue is no longer the thing. So it's kind of crazy what's happened.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like the opening turns have slowed down. You're actually playing this kind of board game, a little like board development game, which I like. Not a board game, that'd be Monopoly.
Those are good too.
And I call Thimble because no one wants it.
Hearthstone Home Edition.
But then, like you said,
that would be so difficult.
But then everything has an end plan, so they don't go too long. But the beginning has slowed down, and I like that. I like the way it feels right now a lot. Hearthstone's never really felt like this. Maybe the first week of Old Gods, when everyone was trying to like make their Old Gods work, and things were slowing down. But it's sped up pretty quick.
There was like 7 different Cthulhu decks. Yeah. It felt like that a little bit in Old Gods. But then also people figured out that if you just played aggro, you could just crush those Old Gods decks and stuff. And right now, I'm waiting for that to kind of happen. I'm seeing a lot of people play Pirate Warrior still, and that could definitely still be very frustrating if you're playing, some deck that's trying to do some weird tricky thing, right? You run into Pirate Warrior, you're like, oh no, here we go.
I will say though, I have not seen nearly as many Pirate Warriors. Like
Why?
Why?
Taunt Warrior.
Oh, I thought you were going to say because of Galactic Crawler.
No. Crawler has nothing to do with it. But I have seen people doing it. But no, Taunt Warrior crushes it. And then also, it's weird where we talked about how little they're losing. Sir Finley makes a huge difference. Not having Sir Finley is massive because they're stuck with that stupid hero power the whole game. And it doesn't shoot you in the face like a hunter, and it doesn't draw them cards. Yeah.
All very good points. Yeah, I actually, what rank did you start at on launch day though, Joss?
19, I think.
Really? And you didn't see any Pirate Warrior?
No.
Huh. Okay.
I mean,
'Cause
I've seen a couple of Pirate
seen some.
Warriors, but I've crushed them.
I saw
Like,
quite
Few
a.
and far in between, and yeah, beat the crap out of
I
it.
saw quite a few. So I started at 17 and quickly fell down to 20 as I tried every deck I could possibly think of and had no consistency whatsoever. And saw a lot of Pirate Warriors, and those were not the ones losing me stars.
Well, yeah, it's not just the taunt warrior too. There's so much more taunt just period in the game that I mean the tar creeper guy, that's like enough in and of itself. The Stegodon thing and Paladin, like there's just so much. And what's funny is I was really worried about running Vine Cleaver because I was like, oh man, if Pirate Warrior is still a thing, people are still gonna be playing oozes. No one's playing any oozes. No one's playing any weapon hate at all.
True.
My Vine Cleaver hits 3 times every single time I play it, and I'm like, that's fine if I pay 7 mana and I get 12 damage and 6 1/1s. Like
That explains the cries of "Suck it, Garrett" I hear in the distance. That explains that. I was wondering where that was coming from.
That card would suck if there was weapon hate, but there just doesn't seem to be. It's like the taunt hate is enough that you don't need the weapon hate, and so now the Pirate Warriors are kind of boned, and they can't really do it anymore. What they wanted to do, which is smash your face. They're having to spend a bunch of damage on taunts. And Galaka Crawler or not, they're just not getting through, right? So I did see a couple Pirate Warriors playing the Galaka Crawler, and I laughed hysterically while I ran them over.
You beat them?
Pretty funny. Yeah. I was like, you just turned your 1/1 into 1/1. Why?
Because reasons, Dills. Because
Sure.
reasons.
It's like, you just made it so that I could kill it with 1 spell. Okay.
Thanks,
I don't have
man.
a 1/1 anymore.
Right click, thanks, and I mean it.
It was great.
I mean it. It's not being. So we've never finished the round table of
that's
pack
right.
opening.
Garrett,
Yeah, so Garrett, how's
so
your pack?
By the way,
so
this is the most packs you've bought in any expansion ever, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm sure I've purchased more over the course of an expansion, but this is the most I've ever front loaded in my entire history with Hearthstone. I opened 200 packs.
You couldn't help yourself. It was great.
I couldn't. I mean, Dill's you had a lot. I was kind of just sitting there bored, which is the
Sure.
which is
Yeah,
the
we'll have
worst
still
thing to
packs.
be in Hearthstone when you don't want to spend money.
Especially when you're sitting there listening to 2 of your closest friends be like, whoa, guess what I just got?
Yeah.
Legendary.
Wah! Except Dill's kept going, duplicate. But yeah, I opened 200 packs, got 7 legendaries, and only 2 of those were a dupe. I got 2 of the Druid quest.
Yeah, I got 1 dupe as well. So I think we can fairly say that all that Reddit stuff. No.
Yeah, we have an email
We'll
about
get
that
to it
later
more,
on. Yeah,
but,
but we'll dive into the theories.
Yeah, and I've always had. There's always seems to be like 1 card that you just get a ton of, right? Like that always happens.
It seems, yeah. We'll get into that later. I have a thought on that. I'll wait until the
Okay,
email. So,
cool.
Jocelyn, you
Yeah, let's
horrible,
hear Jocelyn's
horrible
story, 'cause
human
she opened
being.
the least amount of packs, by the way, but she had the
did.
highest pack quality, clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I opened 130 packs. So I bought the pre-order, and then I had a whole bunch of gold, and then I bought another $50 worth of packs on the day. So I guess it was $100 altogether I spent. And the only thing I remember 100% for sure, because like the whole pack opening experience, since we do it all together, is always really a blur for me. I always lose track of who has what and how many legendaries I have and whatever. So all I remember is my triple legendary pack, which was like the most ridiculous experience of my entire life, because I've never even opened a double legendary pack. And I hovered over the first 2 cards, and they were legendaries, and I lost my shit. And then I just clicked the other 3 real fast, assuming they were commons. And then I got to the 3rd one, and it popped up, and it was the warrior quest. And I was like, triple legendary!
Yeah, you didn't even hover that one.
No, I didn't even hover it. I just clicked it real fast because I assumed it was going to be a crappy card. Because how could it?
Yeah,
I believe this
that
makes
was crazy.
4 expansions in a row where Jocelyn has had insane luck. I think only one of the expansions you haven't pulled the most legendaries.
I think I feel like maybe it was Old Gods.
I think it was.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah.
But
And
that's
then,
that's
last
nuts.
time I think I had, or maybe it was the time I had the least legendaries, but I opened like 2 golden ones or something. Yeah, I have real good luck, guys.
You do?
I've had a double legendary pack before, but that was a classic pack that I got from a tavern brawl, and it was both legendaries like I already had, right? So it was like, oh, cool, sweet, thanks, man.
Yeah,
but it was still
they were
still
all
cool
3
to
different.
see the the gold twice, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was still exciting, but the third one
It was
that's
insane.
crazy. Yeah.
Dills, are you really complaining about double legendaries even if you already had them from a Tavern Brawl pack?
No, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like, the only time it's ever happened was that, so it was a little
Yeah.
less. It wasn't like an
wasn't a brand new
expansion when I was
expansion
opening
day
new
one.
cards, and yeah.
Yeah.
All right, okay, fair enough.
You know, it was 800 dust is what I opened basically, which is cool. It's half a legendary.
Gotcha. Yeah, my initial 50, I think I only opened 2, maybe 1. I don't know. Early on was pretty scarce.
Yeah, we had all three of us went through
Yeah.
what 30 or 40 packs each, and we're all just
yeah,
like,
with none.
Yeah, we were all
Yeah.
sitting there like, my
It was
God.
proven, by the way, the pity timer is real. I was watching Eduacta opening packs on their stream, and he was like counting the packs because he had no legendaries, and he was like, okay, this is the 40th pack. If this whole thing is true, there should be a legendary in this pack, and there was. So technically, like, if you open 40 packs and get no legendaries, they just force a legendary on you. But
well, and I think they did confirm that there's a pity timer, but I don't think that they've ever actually confirmed like how many packs that timer actually
yeah,
is. So
it's all been done kind of by people doing research, really.
Right.
Like, Blizzard doesn't really come out and tell us this stuff.
No, it was never confirmed.
Yeah.
But
But
What
I mean,
is?
it's there. It's there. The one thing I will say is that 40 packs is a lot to not get a legendary when, you know, you're opening packs of 5. But and we'll definitely get into more of this when we kind of talk about the other stuff. But you know, you do get that feeling of frustration, right? As you're opening pack after pack after pack, and we were all kind of going through it
Yeah.
together. Like,
I-
what is happening?
I started spacebar opening. I never spacebar open. I was like, all right, I'm
Sure.
sick of
Oh, we were
rares and
trying
epics.
everything.
yeah, no, we were trying
Card
everything. We were
backs.
going swirling things around,
Swirling
yeah,
it the other
changing-
direction, gently placing. I was
Once-
banging it against the side of the screen for a while.
And well, I will say, once I started changing my card back after each legendary, I started getting them more often.
I'll
So
see.
card back manipulation confirmed.
Sure.
The Angry Chicken does not necessarily condone these insane statements made by Jocelyn Moffat. It's entirely chance and random. She just happens to be lucky.
No, we guarantee if you
Yes,
change
if you
your
change your
back,
card back within about 5 packs, you'll get a
bang
legendary.
your pack against the side,
Yeah.
you bang legendaries into the pack. This is confirmed.
And if it doesn't work, clearly you chose the wrong card back, or you're not banging it the right way.
You just did it wrong. That's all.
I don't want to be told how to bang correctly.
Garrett, you're
Packs.
banging all wrong.
Packs, man. What are you laughing about, Jocelyn? Jeez.
We need to have the talk about how to bang.
Good God. Yeah. Yeah. So
Rufus.
All right, so that was our pack opening experience.
that was our pack opening experience. I got real blue real fast. But yeah. Well, before we get in and talk about the decks we're playing, of which there will be many, we're not doing any deep dives. We're going to kind of do a big scatter shot here. Let's thank another sponsor of this episode, Harrys.com, one of our longest running sponsors for the Angry Chicken. This is the makers of affordable, quality razor blades to shave your face with. I've actually been seeing commercials for this on TV lately. And
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. I'm sitting here like, I don't think I've ever had a sponsor of a podcast or I've actually seen their ads on like traditional television. But I'm still using them. Like I actually spend my own money to keep up to date, like keep stocked up on Harry's blades. I'm a big fan of them. As you can see, I have a beard at the moment, but I have a really disgusting neck beard. It's got to be taken care of.
Oh yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the folks over at Harrys.com, they're so confident in the quality of their blades that you can go and try their most popular trial set absolutely for free. It comes with a razor handle of your choice, 5-blade cartridge, shaving gel, free when you sign up. All you have to do is pay shipping. That's it. So to redeem your free trial offer, head on over to harrys.com/TAC right now. That's harrys.com/TAC.
See how smooth these shoulders are? Oh yeah, silky smooth.
Yeah.
I was going to say, clearly you must have lost yours because, you know, you got the face scruff
Well,
back.
but
sad.
I'm like
I'm
Garrett
so
too.
sad,
I got to keep the neck.
You got
clean.
it.
Like I'm no neckbeard guy. It's yeah.
It must
It
be.
can't be done. It's like scratchy and annoying when it's here.
And it
Here,
also-
I love it.
And it looks gross.
There, not so much.
It looks gross. It looks nasty. So.
Yeah, it's not attractive.
All right.
Sorry to anybody who has it. Probably looks great on you.
Well, I won't get to play the card talk bumper for a while, but this does mean that we can bring back the old school strategy bumper. Let's do it.
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
Let's talk about the decks we're playing, of which there are many. Real quick, like before we get into specific decks, I'm curious if you two had similar experiences to me. Did you just lose like a butt ton, and then finally kind of click with something and then start climbing?
I think I was rank 17 for like 15 games. It was just I was just winning, losing, winning, losing, winning, losing. But I was also every game I was like pulling something in, putting, I was just kind of like messing with the decks in between, switching decks a lot. And then it wasn't until like the second day I started climbing pretty consistently. I think actually, I was looking at my stats earlier. Overall for this season, across all decks, I have a 70% win rate. So once it started to kind of click, it really clicked. But yeah, the first little bit, it was just, everything was crazy. Nobody knew what the hell was going on.
I never knew what to expect, so I never knew what to hold back. And I feel like everyone's experience is probably fairly similar.
Sure.
In the first
I was throwing in like every card from the new expansion, not necessarily, I was
seeing
like, I want
works.
all the new cards. That might not be the right thing.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing. What happened was the first night, so like after we did our pack opening, I head into the Nexus that night, yada, 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 got pretty late. I was really tired, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to go to bed without playing. But I didn't want to do it on my computer, and I hate building decks on a tablet. So I ran over to my computer, I threw open Hearthstone, I was just like, all right, what's in here? What makes some kind of sense? I'm like, all right, there's a Taunt Warrior, I want to try that. There's a Quest Rogue, let's do that. There's Mid-Range Pally, okay, I didn't know that was going to be a thing, but it says Mid-Range Pally, so I'm going to play the hell out of it. And there's a Discard Zoo, all right, and I just built them real fast, and I went and laid in bed, and I just lost a ton because I wasn't really thinking. Ended up winning out the gate probably the most games with a Taunt Warrior. I grabbed Show's Taunt Warrior list, and I'm still playing it to right now. I haven't really changed a darn thing about it. The only thing was that I didn't crack a Primordial Drake, so I think I threw in the ooze the tar monster that has like 11 health and
the 111. Yeah, I had that in my first version of it because I basically just went in and just typed in taunt and just put in like everything.
Yeah,
I did the same thing.
And also everything that was new, right? So and that was one of the new ones. But
Exactly.
It turns out that one is a little bit too. It's just too expensive, and the other one, the Drake, clears the board,
right?
while it's also being expensive. So it's so much better.
It's very proactive.
Yeah.
And so I did end up breaking down and crafting a Primordial Drake. I got it quite a few times though, even without having it, thanks to MVP Stonehill Defender.
Stonehill Defender guy. Yeah.
Stonehill Defender turns out cool card. I mean, he ain't killing nothing after turn 3 without one attack of his, but he's gonna give you something sweet.
It's that card is like MVP, man. That card is MVP in like every deck too. You can play a deck and put no taunts in it and just run that guy, and it'll just get you the taunts you need. And then the rest of the deck is full of, other quality cards. Arena, that card is insane. That card is just so damn good. And who would have thought a 3-mana 1/4 taunt would be super good? But turns out all it needs to do is just draw you a card.
Outside of Mage, there's not a lot of spells going face these days. In our post Ungoro Hearthstone landscape, not a lot of spells coming at your grill. Not going to be happening. So taunt is at a premium. Not to mention they've added so many more taunt minions, and there's just quality taunt minions to be played. So no, I'm on the same board with you, man. Yeah, I wasn't expecting Primordial Drake to be that good.
I didn't have a lot of decks where I just kind of threw it together myself and it just worked. A lot of them, I had to like workshop them a little bit, right? And I think that's because there's so many options now, and it's really difficult to tell. Like you really have to kind of like bear down on one idea, and then you can put in some packages. But you have to really like have this core, I think, right now. Because before you would see, in the last expansion, you would see like, I play the Finja package and the Pirate package and the whatever, and I just kind of mix and match, and they all kind of work together. The only real like dual thing I've seen working very well so far is this Elemental Jade Shaman, where it's like elementals and jades. But that's just because both of them are very board centric, right? They work well together because they're both doing kind of the same thing. But outside of that, it's like you kind of have to like narrow down on your idea and go for it. And I was not building that way, I think, early on.
Well, yeah, because for a while we've kind of been almost giving the opposite advice, right? Is don't go too far down your theme. You know, like because there were so many cards that were almost like trap cards. Like, yeah, it has taunt, but it's actually really bad. And so you don't want to just throw in every single one of those cards. But now I feel like it's almost the opposite. Like if you want to go down a certain path, like you really have to commit to it because there's so many synergies between so many cards. Like we got hardly any like just plain blank vanilla cards in this set. Like everything does something or has something attached to it.
Yeah, I mean, we got those pack fillers that are arena cards, but yeah, outside of that, like going into constructed decks, everything has a purpose.
Yeah, no, it
more so than I feel like in the past it has been.
Well, especially since we lost a lot of the fillers, things like Sylvanas, things like Azure Drake. These cards
those very common, this goes in every deck cards. Exactly.
They didn't play to your archetype. I guess Sylvanas would have played towards Death Rattle Priest, but beyond that, I mean, what the hell archetype is Azure? What's your archetype that you're playing Azure Drake? Really sell me on that. Oh, I like to draw cards and have spell power. Get out of here. Leave.
Well, you know what's really cool though too is they kind of replaced it with the 4/5 elemental guy in a way. Like that's like if you play elemental, that's your Azure Drake now. But not everybody gets it, right? You have to be playing this type of deck to get it.
Right.
And I think that's very cool.
And you specifically have to do a thing the turn before. You don't just automatically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not just a drop it on 5 no matter what because I have nothing else to do. It's turn 5, right?
Yeah.
It's just it's a card you plan for, and it kind of fulfills that role. But it's not just a catch-all card, right? So I'm not even sure, like, the catch-all card is probably that Stonehill Defender guy. Like, that's probably the only real kind of catch-all card that's kind of out there. And that's not a card that, by itself, like, wins or loses you the game. It's just a card that bridges you into, you know, the mid to late game, which is fine. Like, that's fine for what that does.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And any other thoughts on Taunt Warrior? Or should we talk about some other decks?
I think it's pretty powerful. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I think that was the first deck that I kind of, so I did something different this expansion. Normally I do exactly what you did, Garrett, is I go to, you know, Hearth Pwn, Hearth whatever. And I pull decks and kind of go from there and feel out what feels best to me. And this time I was kind of like, you know what? There's quests, there's a lot of different themes, like there's elemental stuff. Like I think this time I'm just going to build all my own decks. And I had so much more fun coming up with stuff, and I feel like I've actually had a lot of success because I'm not net decking. Like, I'm following a lot of themes that I think a lot of other people are following, but, like, they don't know what to expect because I'm not playing the, like, super refined best show version, you know? So I had a lot of fun just deck building this expansion, which is something I haven't really felt confident enough to do before. And Taunt Warrior, I think, came together the easiest, but it's not the one I've had the most success with overall. But it's really fun. And
I think it's a tier 1 deck, though. I think
it definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I've heard a lot of people kind of complaining about Taunt Warrior as being too strong, and I haven't had that experience as too strong. I definitely did well with it, but I've been able to beat it as well because the strategy to beat it is to just go wide on the board once they actually start, you know, shooting the 8 damage fireballs, but also play carefully around the brawls early on because they're running double brawl, and oftentimes now they're running a Deathwing as well. So if you're just like cautious, like you commit to the board just enough and not too much, you force them to kind of, you know, they play this very defensive strategy, right, where they're just dropping taunt after taunt after taunt. So if you can continue to clear, like those taunts often don't trade like 1-for-1 with your minions. You can oftentimes get through them while your guys stay alive. So you can end up getting quite a bit of early face damage on them. Then when they turn on the
hero power,
you know, the new hero power, they suddenly lose all ability to gain health. And that's when you like move in for the kill, right? So you just start trying to apply pressure to the face at that point. So it's definitely got a counter strategy.
It is difficult though. Like I've played against it and I've done exactly what you're saying. Sometimes it's just like, well, they pulled both the brawls, they had Deathwing, I couldn't get online.
Yeah, if they have both brawls in like the first 15 cards, that makes it very tough for sure because you do have to pressure them.
Yeah.
But most of the time that won't happen.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes the brawls work in your favor because I've been playing my Disco Zoo, which is my favorite deck right now. Well, maybe not my favorite, not the most fun to play. I still have a good time with it, but it's definitely my winningest deck at the moment. And there's definitely been times where I'm like, that's too much health. I can't get through that. Oh, they brawled. Okay, cool. Don't need to worry about it.
Nice, yeah. By the way, the only thing I will say, my version is really close to Show's, except I'm using Malkarok instead of a Gorehowl. Mostly that's because I have a golden Malkarok, and I was like, this finally could go into a deck. But I found that it's really good now without the Curse Blade being in there. The only real bad outcome is the Molten Blade, and even with the Molten Blade, I'm still getting a 6/5 and a 1 ping. So it's like, it's not the worst thing ever. It's not
definitely
like
better than
I
Curse
wasted
Blade.
a card
You're not
completely.
suddenly taking double damage.
I'm not suddenly dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's fine. And then there's so many great outcomes that it just ended up working well. And I found that the body is just really effective. To just be putting a body on the board, because sometimes you play, like turn 7, you play Gorehowl. You're like, sweet, I'm going to be killing stuff now for the next 5 or 6 turns. But you didn't develop any body that turn, right? And with the Malkarok, you develop a body and a weapon, and most of the time it kills something. So it feels a little bit more proactive. So yeah, I really like that inclusion, but obviously if you don't have Malkarok, Gorehowl is friggin' great in this deck. So
Yeah. Well, Joss, what about you? I'll bounce around. You pick the
Yay.
next deck we're going to discuss.
So my next deck, it's a secret deck.
It's
literally a mage deck that's just built around secrets, and I have had
Hold on, I'm
so
going to show
much luck
this.
with this.
I need to see this deck. Okay.
So I've had so much luck with this. I don't know if that's because it's actually good or not, but I mean, I've been rolling over people. I think I have something like an 87% win rate with it. I beat rogues, I beat warriors, taunt or pirates, I beat paladins, I like everything. The only class that I have a problem with is hunter, but even then, hunter is not as prevalent as most of the other ones. So I think I'm 2 and 3 against hunter ish, and I'll take that if I can roll over warriors and rogues. So
it looks pretty good. I mean, the only card that I would try to find a place for, but I don't see what you'd cut, is the Sorcerer's Apprentice, but that's hard to cut something for because these are all key cards. So yeah.
And I found that with the Archaeologist pulling the secrets and with the Primordial Glyph giving me the 2 mana discount anyway, I haven't needed sorcerers. Like, I've never been in a situation where I'm like, oh no, what do I do now? I don't have enough mana to cast this spell. Like, I mean, I'm getting 5 mana Flame Strikes because you discover it's not random, so you can choose. So I'm getting like 5 mana Flame Strikes, 2 mana Fireballs. Like, I've had people totally rage quit against this deck. I have counterspelled rogue quest rewards. I have, like mirror entitied the taunts from Taunt Warrior, and then I'm just like, now I have that too. Screw you, Taunt Warrior. And usually kill them before the quest. And then, like I'm finding all kinds of great burn spells, and just I don't care about how big your wall is, and I'm not going too wide on the board. And then against other classes like Paladin, who don't necessarily have a lot of like targeted removal, then I'm playing down my Ethereal Arcanist, which I've always wanted to find a place for in a deck because I think they're so cool, especially when you've got Ice Block up. And it just grows and grows and grows, and they can't do anything about it. And I'm just like, I win!
That's awesome.
So I have had so much fun with this deck.
I'm going to give this a shot. I like this. I like this a lot. Mage has never clicked for me. Not once.
And it doesn't have any legendaries either. It doesn't run the quest. It doesn't run Antonitis. It's just... I play secrets and burn your face.
I have a shameful 3. It was Rogue, which I've come around on. I came around on last expansion. I'm actually not drinking the quest Kool-Aid, by the way. I've lost more than I've won with that deck. But I'm on the Rogue. But it used to be Rogue, Mage, and Druid. Those were like my shameful 3. I just never liked them ever. Even like when Mech Mage was a thing and it seemed like it was super simple, I just would never draw my curve. Ever. It felt like I never drew my curve, and it was just awful. So I want to give this a shot. Thank you for sharing this, Josh.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job here of not playing the trap cards for a secret mage, because I've seen a lot of people build these decks and they're playing like Cabal Lackey, and what's the one that gets cheaper every time you play a secret? Cabal Crystal Runner.
Yeah.
And those are fine, but they're kind of trap cards, right? Like, they're just not like Ethereal Arcanist is pretty cool because it's like an engine. It just keeps growing and growing if they don't deal with it.
Yeah, if they
so
don't have
it
an
forces
answer.
removal out.
Yeah.
And the other ones are kind of like what they end up essentially doing for you is they just burn your hand, and then suddenly you're out of juice, right? And also, your secrets aren't good on turn 1. So you're playing a 2/1 Cabal Lackey on turn 1, and then playing a secret that sucks on turn 1. Like Mirror Entity's terrible on turn 1. Ice Block you don't need on turn 1.
Yeah, they're all counter cards.
Free later with a Kirin Tor Mage. Like it's fine to not have that. So yeah, this is a pretty refined list. Pretty well done.
Yeah.
Yay!
I'm excited to try this. Bring it on.
Stamp. Deals approved. Josh is actually good at deck building sometimes.
Oh yeah. So yeah, like the change, if I were to make changes, I would pull out maybe a Polymorph and a Cabalist Tome and put in Sorcerer's Apprentice, but I would have to play it before I realized I wanted those. Right? I just immediately look at like Mana Worm and I'm like, oh, I want to cheat out early spells and like run their face over sometimes. You know what I mean? But that's just probably because I'm so used to Tempo Mage. So.
Exactly, and I found like I go Mana Worm turn 1, Glyph turn 2. Sometimes I can even play a second spell turn 2 again. Sometimes I've got the coin in there too. I've never found...
It hasn't felt like you needed it?
No, I haven't found that I've needed it at all. And what I have found that I need is the kind of spell generating stuff. So the glyphs and the book and the why am I blank? Oh, the tome.
Yeah. So you don't run out of guess.
I never run out. Most of the time I'm sitting there with a handful of burn spells, and I'm just like.
Well, let's see. I have 22 over 2 turns. I guess I should just start shooting you in the face now.
Exactly, and that's really how my games have turned out, and especially with the discount from Glyph. People are never really expecting it. Like I start burning their face on turn 6 and they're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you wasting? Aren't you going to have to clear my big stuff? I'm like, no, I have Ice Block up and I'm going to pyro you on turn 8. So I'm actually good to just keep burning your face.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really, really fun.
Well, Dills,
and like I said, people have rage quit and people have added me and been like, WTF is this list? And I'm like,
yes, friendly conversation ads. I love those. Those are so
they
rare.
Happen every once in a while.
Yep, so rare. Just be ready for that one person who's just wanting to cuss you out.
Yeah.
Just prepare for it. Ready to block. Ready to remove. Dills, what deck do you want to cover next?
I think we should probably just go right to Purify, right?
Yeah, I think we should. So this is the one that I've been hearing. It's like I've been hearing through the grapevine, the tales, the stories of Purify Priest. I haven't actually gone and researched this particular deck myself, and I haven't gone up against one either.
So I just kind of made it last night, but I think there's lists out there that are basically the same.
Yeah, and Firebat has a YouTube video up about it.
Sure. Yeah, I did play against some other people who were doing similar stuff, so I kind of knew what was in there. And I did have to craft Shadow Visions for this, but Shadow Visions is super good in this list. Basically, I mean, Humongous Razor Leaf just kind of made this deck much more powerful. A 4/8 on turn 3 that you can then silence on turn 4 or whatever. Or you can Faceless Shambler on turn 4. Like, you're just so ahead at that point. And there's so many silences now. Purify, Silence, and Cabal Songstealer. So you don't have to run bad silences anymore, because I think the old lists were running, spell breakers and stuff, where you're like paying this kind of real penalty for it. Now, I mean, Cabal Songstealer is a 5/5. You're not paying a penalty for that thing. And then, of course, the Divine Spirit, Inner Fire stuff means you just kind of you're playing these really big minions. They can't remove them, and all of a sudden you're like, and you're dead. So yeah, it's pretty sweet, pretty fun. Oh yeah, I got a throwing up dog. Get away from me, buddy.
Oh, lovely.
All right, you guys discuss. I'm going to deal with it.
Iggy is so disturbed that Purify is playable.
He literally threw up.
Can't contain the contents of his stomach.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Ah, man, I'm not going to climb. I just want to play new decks. I just want to learn new things. I'm not going to actually know how to play them, and I'm just going to keep jumping around. I'm not going to climb, and I don't care. This is another deck looking at it. My freaking God. Look at this thing, Jocelyn.
It's pretty insane. And I think I saw a couple of posts, I think, on our Reddit. And I think we also got a couple of emails about people kind of playing around with all the Inner Fire, Divine Spirit kind of stuff, which is so reminiscent of early Priest, right? Like way back in vanilla days, people were doing, that was the big combo, was the whole, Divine Spirit thing. So
yeah.
It's really cool that it's kind of coming back, and I'm glad that there is some sort of a deck where Purify works. Just because, like, I think Purify took more crap than any card ever in the entire history of Hearthstone. Like, people just piled right on. So
I don't know if you.
I'm glad that there's some sort of deck where this potentially works.
I don't know if you've been reading the subreddit. People are pretty mad about that Rogue Quest.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's an entire pinned post about that, which I think is just stupid, but whatever.
Yeah, it
I had
is.
someone in the chat ask, "Are we really calling 0 mana silence a good silence?" Hell yeah, we are. In this deck, it's amazing. Because on turn 4, you can play Barnes, get like a humongous Razor Leaf token, and then immediately silence it. Right. So it's a 4/8 that can attack the
That
next
can
turn.
attack, yeah.
So
Yeah.
like the fact that it's 0 mana just allows you to fit it in so many different situations.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not going to happen every time with Barnes, but yeah, absolutely.
No, but I mean, there's the thing about Barnes, like the only really bad outcome with Barnes is the Faceless Shambler because it is a 1/1
yeah,
on its own.
it just gets nothing done.
Yeah, I guess Defender is pretty bad too. But like everything else, if you end up silencing it, it gets bigger. And if it's still Barnes is like fine on its own. Barnes is there to like sometimes win you the game, right? It's
Yep.
like it's not always, but you're gonna be able to sometimes just like blow people out.
Hmm. Have a plan for him not to work, and if he does work, cool. Your game just got easier. Yeah, man, I wanna play anything that's running Purify and Divine Spirit. Sign me up. You've piqued my interest.
Yeah, it's funny because Purify was such a meme, right? It was just like this card is just the worst. What the hell are you doing? But Blizzard knew Humongous Razor Leaf was coming, right? So
Yep.
Ben Broda's just sitting there like, yeah, whatever, just you wait.
Yeah,
It'll be fine.
I stand by
Is
that.
the Razor Leaf a class card?
No, it's neutral.
It's neutral, okay.
So it's the 4/8 that can't attack for 3
Yeah.
mana.
Yeah, I stand by with Purify. I think it was just timing because it was part of the reveal season, and it was right in the middle of everyone saying Priest is terrible and the Unicorn Priest comment by Ben Brode, and then they go and reveal Purify, and it was just the worst timing. Purify should have been a card that it wasn't revealed. That was just in the big blah at the end.
But
That's the
it
thing they
also proves that we probably need to chill about making judgments about cards based on only information we currently have, right? Like it's okay for a card to not be great now because cards get better and worse. Like we could have the board control was a meme for years, right? Because it's like that card is just so bad. And then here we are now in 2017, literally putting double bore into our rogue decks, right? So it's like you never know what's coming down the road here, that a card will one day find a spot. And especially now, like Wild is now going to be much more of a thing. Every card potentially has a place, I think. Even really bad cards that can find that niche, right? So here, like Purify is actually one of the things that literally makes this deck go, because the only card draw you have is Acolyte, Purify, and then Clerics and Shields, right? So the ability to like do the good thing you wanted to do and cycle into the stuff you need to get to is amazing. So
Yeah.
suddenly Purify is actually making a deck work. Crazy.
All right. Well, I want to talk about Disco Zoo. And if you're watching video, I'm just on Hearthstone here. If you're curious what website this is, and I'm looking at Xananananan's Disco Zoo. This was what I grabbed when I was tired at night and just wanted to try out some new archetypes without having to think to make my own decks. And he actually made some changes. And what I was running was his original deck, which had Argent Squires and 2 Darkshire Librarians. Since then, Xanananan has dropped both Squires for 2 Fireflies and 1 Librarian for 1 Devilsaur Egg. I've only played like 3 games with that particular list, but it does seem to be working pretty damn well. Devilsaur Egg in conjunction with Ravenous Pterodax is disgusting, and it feels like a backbreaker when it comes down.
That's the one where you destroy your own minion, right? And you get to
Yes.
adapt twice. So you
Exactly.
destroy the egg, get the Devilsaur, and also adapt twice.
Yep.
Garrett, that's gross.
It is. It is very gross, and especially, I mean, if you've been playing Zoo like you should be, and you've already got control of the board, and that happens, unless it's like mid-range Pally, they're probably feeling bad. So it was interesting watching. So Discard Warlock was probably the thing I was the most excited about with this expansion, like ahead of time. That and maybe Hunter, and the Hunter quest is not panning out. by the way.
And neither is the Warlock quest.
No, it is not.
This does not run the quest.
So for the last 5 days, I've just been, I originally, actually the first discard lock I tried, I did build myself, and I had the quest in there and everything, and it was just too slow. It's fun to play. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing more fun in this world than playing that damn portal. I love it. I absolutely love it, but it's just too slow. The route everyone went down, the trap everyone went down, including myself, was build a Zoolock-like archetype and include that quest. And that's just, it's so wrong. Like, if you're playing Zoo, you want to play a minion on turn 1. Why is that quest even in there? Like, why do you bother? Yes, you can hold it. You can play it later when you actually have discard synergy. But even then, you're probably better off spending that 1 mana on another minion.
Well, also, the quest isn't done. Like, you want to kill them before you've discarded 6 cards.
Yep.
You generally, like, you're only going to discard maybe 4.
Yep.
Over, like, an average one of these games. Because, like, 1 Doomguard, maybe, a Soulfire or, a Librarian or something like that. But outside of that, like, no, you're not discarding 6 cards by the time you're hopefully killing them, right? So
yeah, I think there's that one taunt card that discards 2 cards.
Yeah, and
I
it's
think
pretty bad.
I think people thought that was going to make the quest more doable, but
so I don't think that card is bad. I think it's bad in Zoolock. I think it's absolute trash in
bad
Zoolock.
for this deck. Yeah.
I think
because it's not a Doomguard. It doesn't come out and then just like murder something and put an immediate threat on the board. It comes out and then it's a 3/8 and sits there, and a lot of times they just kill it.
Yeah, so I only just today started playing around with building my own deck, and what I'm trying to build is a wild, like, mid-range discard lock that runs that card, that runs the quest, that wants the game to go long, wants to discard a lot of cards, and actually wants to complete the quest.
I think in Wild you can make it work, but I think you're also you're running really defensive cards, and you're running like Ragnaros and stuff. Like you're running like super late game in the deck like that. And probably even, Jiraxis and stuff. And what you're doing is you want to be discarding to, be defensive and then tapping a lot. And it might even run, things like, like Doom and friggin' Deathwing, right? Like it might even be running stuff like that where you're cycling so much and getting this big stuff. And then if you discard that, then you pull it back in with the 6-mana 5/5 dude.
I didn't think about Deathwing. I like Deathwing because a lot of times with the discard Warlock, I'm really depending on my hero power to even keep things in my hand.
Sure.
So
Deathwing, and often you might even at that point discard like 1 card with Deathwing, and it'll complete your quest, right?
Yeah.
So
and also,
you just want to get to late game, and then if you discard a huge card like Rag or Deathwing, you could bring it back maybe with the dinosaur guy. But yeah, it's definitely not for this deck. Not for this deck at all. The quest. So
yeah,
I think there's a lot of decks that seem to have evolved in the last couple of days that don't use the quest, that like people thought the quest would work well in, but then it turns out the quest decks are actually something totally different. I think Hunter, Mage, and Zoo are probably the ones that kind of like thought they were going to go down the quest road, and then now there's like other archetypes that are really opening up there. I think like Taunt Warrior obviously works really well with the quest. There is a Mage deck that works really well with the quest, and the which one am I missing? Oh, Rogue, yeah, obviously. Very good with the quest. But I think the other ones, like, we probably haven't figured out what the quest decks really are, because the original kind of theory-crafted archetypes aren't the ones that work best. Yeah. Like, your traditional discard Zoo deck isn't actually going to work really well with the quest. So I think we still need a little bit more time to kind of figure out what those quest decks look like. And I think, like you said, I think a lot of them are much more late game focused than we originally thought. Even the Hunter one, which is like play a bunch of 1-drops, like how late game can that possibly be focused? But I think that's actually the correct way to play it.
So I want to bring up something real quick, just for people who are playing this deck, who want to play this deck. I was watching some people play on stream. I'm not going to call out who they are, but they're great streamers who may not be the best players. If you have 3 mana left over and there is a Silverware Golem in your hand, just play the Silverware Golem, okay? Like, why? I see people like holding them like, no, this is only viable if I could play it for free by discarding it. It's like, dude, you passed the turn with 3 mana left and just didn't play a 3/3 for no good reason.
The only time I don't do that is when I'm playing around like board clear.
Sure,
it's the only
that's a
time I
viable
don't do
reason
that.
not to do it. But like, I watch people and they're like,
value.
Silver Golem is amazing when you cheat it out really early, but later on in the game, you often just have 3 mana sitting there. Play the damn 3/3, okay? It's not doing you any good by sitting. And then the next turn, they're like, try to discard again. They're like, damn. Well, what do I do with my 9 remaining mana? Oh man, and it's like, dude, no, you just play it.
Just play it. What do you do? There's one card.
3/3. You have 3 mana that you didn't want to use anyway. Just play the damn thing.
There's one card in this whole deck you should be holding on to, and that's Malchezaar Zip. That's it. You hold that, wait till you have discard synergy, and you play that sucker.
Sure, but that card too. Like I just play that on turn 1 just as a 1/3, because playing a 1/3 as a zoo is very good, right?
I do that if I don't have another 1-drop.
Yeah.
But if
I will pick other cards over it if I don't have discard stuff in my hand.
Yeah. I'm being a little facetious here, man.
Yeah. But like Malchezaar Zimp into Darkshire Librarian, super good start. Malchezaar Zimp and then Direwolf Alpha, super good start. So yeah, it's one of those things I see people doing it all the time and I'm like, you're trying to get value where none exists right now.
Yeah.
Like there is no reason to not use your 3 mana that's available to play your 3/3.
So we talked about how Devil Soul Egg and Ravenous Pterodax is disgusting. But do I talk about the other card in this particular discard zoo that is just a freaking gross card, the Ravasaur Runt? I didn't see this coming, and I don't know why.
Sure.
But this card is just so nasty.
We almost always have or have the ability to get 2 minions on the board before you play it.
Yeah.
It's so cheap.
If you go second and this is in your starting hand, keep it in mulligan for 1-drops.
Yep. Yeah, and then so like when you get, by the way, the math on adapting is pretty interesting. So like if there's one particular one you're looking for, it's like 30%, right? Mm-hmm. But if there's 2 adapts that you want, either one would work really well. That's 53% of the time you'll get one of those too. So it is pretty viable. And with this guy, there's so many that work, right? So like Divine Shield is amazing. +1/+1 is amazing. Poisonous is amazing. Stealth is amazing. Like there's so many good ones with this guy that you're not going to miss very often to get a 2 mana 2/2 with extra value. So it's super good.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to like quickly like recite cards for our audio listeners if you don't remember what it is. So this is the 2/2 for 2 beast that if you have 2 other minions on board, it has a battle cry where you get to adapt it. And as a matter of fact, like I don't usually just like quote guides from Hearthstone, but Zen and Ananan, who made this thing, like he has comments below that says, "Hey, Ravasaur Run, if you get this thing out early and you get the death rattle off of the adapt where it summons 2 1/1s, it's a more broken Haunted Creeper, and Haunted Creeper was out of this world." Mm-hmm. But you're absolutely right, Dills. The other adapts are great too, and some are even better than that later in the game, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, no, it's like you can't miss with the adapt on this guy because there are so many that are good. It's like almost impossible. It's like a 5% chance to not get a good one here. Mm-hmm. And like even the not good ones, like what's the not good one? Like +3 health, +3 attack. Those are, I guess, the not good ones. Like those are still really good.
Yeah, targeted by spells, maybe because
it's
Fairy
a 2/2
Dragon
that trades pretty easily. Yeah. So I guess that's a bad one because you could play a Fairy Dragon instead. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's like it's really hard to get a bad adapt on this guy, and so he's just amazing.
Stealth is kind of and the campy target is kind of but beyond that, there's depending on the matchup, like even taunt can come in handy if you're just like, okay, just need to survive one more turn to get this Doomguard off and I win.
Or you need to protect like your Ravenous Paradox or something that's got Wind Fury and stuff. Like that could be good too. So,
I've used another Ravenous Runt or Ravasaur Runt to protect my other Ravasaur Runt that has 5 attack.
Nice.
And ended the game before. It's such a flexible card, depending on what's going on. And I didn't see it coming. I didn't think that this was going to be one of the cards that I walked away from 5 days in Angora going, my God, what a star.
I think another card that people didn't think was going to be as good as it is Firefly. Firefly has become kind of like a staple in so many decks because it's just, here's a 1-mana card that gives you another 1-mana card that you could play at some point in the future, or you could play them both together as a 2-drop. It's fantastic here because it's another kind of token that you can use with Pterodax. It's a good way to activate knife juggles. It's extra bodies you can direwolf alpha.
It's a turn
It's
2
all
play.
those things, and
All those
great.
things and more.
Yep,
Yeah.
all those things and more. It's
Yeah.
It's a way to get 2 guys on board before you Ivysaur run, right? So
Yep.
it's
Just be
everything
careful
you need in this deck.
because Fox might cancel it before everyone realizes how awesome it is. All right, back to Joss. Any other decks we haven't already talked about that you wanted to mention?
I don't really think so. We've talked about where quests fit and stuff. I think the only other thing that I don't think we've actually covered yet is questing Rogue. So I did give that a try, and it's fine. It's powerful, but I don't necessarily enjoy playing it, I guess, which I kind of find funny because it was one of the ones I was looking forward to. But once I actually realized that it wasn't really the tricky fun deck that I thought it was going to be, it's kind of pretty straightforward. And I think you mentioned Garrett early on, you're kind of waiting 3 or 4 turns, then you do your 1 turn of bouncing your 1-drops, and then you finish your quest, and then you just have a whole bunch of 5/5s. It's not as tricky and fun or not as complicated, I guess, as I thought it was going to be. So
Yeah.
it's not as fun as I thought it was going to be. It's not a bad deck.
Well, there
I
are
think
some
it's fun.
tricks though. I see people playing this pretty badly against me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, I've seen people
Yeah.
really, really screw it up.
Like people will play the novice engineer twice, and then they'll play it the 3rd time and leave it on the board without
Yeah.
another one in their hand. And I'm like, well, I'm just gonna kill it now. And I guess you have to finish your quest with some other card. A couple things I do want to clear up about this, because I had some people in my chat thinking that the quest worked differently than how it actually works. Someone in my chat had thought that the quest meant that you play the quest and the next minion you play has to be played 4 times. But no, it just counts any minion. Every minion you play, it keeps a tally of how many times that named minion has been played.
Yeah.
And
So if
then
you
when
start
you
with
hover over-
Swashbuckler and it doesn't work, you can pivot and do Novice Engineer or something else, and it'll still work.
Yeah, and when you hover over, it shows you the highest count of minions.
Yes.
But even if you're at 3 novice engineers, you could still go 4 swashbucklers
something
if
else,
you wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
you're gonna need some miraculous bounce to make that happen.
Yeah.
But then I also see people, I've seen some people who get it wrong too. You got to play them. You can't just summon them. So Violet Teacher tokens don't count. Morose Stewards don't count. So just want to make sure that everybody knows what the hell's going on here. But it's very cool to see some of these cards becoming useful again, like the Violet Teacher and Morose. The reason why these are so good is because later in the game, once you've completed the quest, these are spitting out 5/5s, right?
Yeah.
So they become really disgusting at that point. When you're mulliganing with this deck, you keep your quest, and then you try to keep every bounce mechanic that you have.
And throw everything
because-
else back.
Yeah, it's more important to be bouncing stuff at the beginning than it is to just be playing stuff to do stuff, right? So it's more important to play something, bounce it, not play it again, wait until you can bounce it again, and then that's kind of how you want to do it. And then also if you have a duplicate of a 1-drop, that's a really good keep too, because most of the time you will draw into a bounce effect, and having a duplicate of it already means you only have to bounce one of them twice, and you already have the 4th one with the other guy. So
Yep.
yeah.
All very good points. So what's your favorite minion to bounce? Because there's merits to quite a few of them.
It's definitely a tie between the Novice Engineer and the Swashbuckler. Those are the 2 guys I go for. Swashbuckler is a little easier because it's 1 mana, so it's easier to fit it in with your 2 mana Brewmaster and whatchamacallit, Ferryman?
Ferryman, yeah.
Yeah, but if you can get a single Shadow Step on a Novice, then he comes back as a 0-cost guy, so it's pretty easy to bounce him too.
Yep. Yeah. And by the way, if you're like me and I don't think I've ever actually played Gadget Zan Ferryman before, Gadget Man, as I like to call it.
The gadget.
That is a combo effect. Please play a card first or it won't bounce. I totally did that my first time piloting this
Gotta
deck.
make sure you combo something.
Yeah, I was just sitting here oh, I'm so glad I'm not streaming. But I figured I'd admit it here.
Another thing, people
everyone.
look at this deck and think, why the preparation? And the prep is there to prep out the quest card once you actually get it, more often than not, because playing it for 5 mana can be pretty steep, but when you can play it for 2, oh man, you play it for 2 and then you swarm the board with 5/5s.
Yeah.
But it's also there to make big Van Cleefs early on sometimes and cheesing out victories. So
Yep.
good with Mimic Pod as well.
Yep. Yeah, like Miracle Rogue last expansion. Sometimes you just win with a big Morose, or not Morose.
Van Cleef.
Van Cleef. This time you're winning with a big Moros.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right, Jocelyn. It's not as tricky as it looked like it was going to be, but there are still tricks to it. It's just that this deck, I think,
it
people
doesn't
think
play
it's like
itself.
Answer because it got figured out so fast.
Yeah.
And it got figured out so fast because it's not that hard to actually figure out. Like, you're like, oh, there's 3 bounce things in the game. Put those in. Oh, look, there's cheap minions. Okay, put those in. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Stone Dust War is a 5/5 after the quest is complete. Wow, that seems good.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, that's kind of, I guess, my problem with a lot of the rogue quest hate is that, you know, like, it's fairly straightforward, and as long as you pay attention when you're playing against them, it's actually, depending on what class you're playing, pretty easy to just counter because there's so many people picking it up and making silly mistakes and, you know, like leaving things on board or, you know, whatever. And you can always tell when, you know, things are going to get bounced or when they're going to try to play the quest or, you know, so you can kind of prepare for that. And I think that the counters to this deck are getting figured out just as fast as the deck itself. So I don't actually think it's as bad as everyone's saying.
No, I think it's actually fine. I see a lot of people being very concerned with it, and I really think it just got figured out faster than the other decks, and the other decks will catch up, and this won't be. This will still be like a useful deck in like tournaments and stuff because it has the ability to run over some like ultra slow decks that don't have the ability to pressure you. But this deck will easily have counters. Like if you want to just Hunter Zerg somebody down in a tournament who's playing this, they won't have time to sit there bouncing stuff around and being all cute because they're gonna be like, dude, I'm coming at your face. So you know, that's the counter I think is just be faster than them, or have the ability to sweep 5/5s at a certain point because a lot of times they will run out of steam. You know, there's not a huge amount of cards outside of your Swashbuckler and your Novice Engineer. So if they kind of blow their wad making their 5/5s, and let's say you're playing the new Handlock that's running Fellfire Potion, you know, you're like, boom, they're all gone. Here's a bunch of giant minions now. You'll kill them that way too. So
yeah, and I think like the number of bounces I think is fine because you need, you know, 3 bounces or 2 or 3 bounces depending on how many copies of your card you actually pull. And if it was too slow because it only makes 5/5s, you know, like 5/5s are great in the mid game if you can actually get the quest off on turn 4 or 5. That's great for the rogue. But if you're, you know, getting your quest off later or if the game goes later, then, you know, other decks have bigger minions. So, you know, I think it's actually in a totally fine space. I'm not enjoying it so much playing it, but there's plenty of tech even that anyone can play. I mean, Dirty Rat is perfect tech against this.
Dirty Rat wrecks it.
It is.
Yeah,
you
so
want
you
to
either pull their combo piece or you pull their bounce. Bounce.
Yeah, you pull like one of their Gadget Mans.
Gadget Mans,
yeah. Gadget Mans, yeah.
And next thing you know, they're like, "Damn, I can't bounce my dude the 4th time."
Now, yeah.
And a lot of times too, like if they don't have the prep, you know, even they complete the quest, and you're like, well, they have to pay 5 mana to start their train of 5/5s, and that's most of their turn. And you're like, okay, well now I know that it's coming, so I need to adjust and start just pushing face damage, try to set like a 2-turn clock on them, and you know. If they have to spend a whole turn just making the dudes 5/5s, they don't often then also get a bunch of those dudes out. So.
Yeah, there is
a lot of their stuff is so low health, right? Like they have a lot of 1 and 2 health minions. I mean, even just in Hunter, I teched in the Grievous Bite, which is the new Hunter 2 mana, do 2 damage and 1 damage to the minions before, and it's like, okay, this board might have been a pain in the ass if it was 3 5/5s, but now all your minions are dead. So
yeah,
sorry.
if you keep cleaning up their bounce minions, so your pandas and your ferrymans or gadget mans, if you prefer, it's very hard for them to win. Just clear the board because when the quest does come online, they're gonna need to have minions, and more importantly, they're gonna need to have prep. Like you said, Dills, if they don't have prep to play along with their quest, they're not getting enough minions on the board to actually threaten you. There's absolutely god draws with this deck.
Yeah, that's true. Like you're gonna lose and it's gonna feel bad.
Yes, but that is true of many other decks. This just like you said, Dills, got figured out the quickest. So everyone who hates fun just chain games with this. Apparently, I don't know, man. I've just been having a blast. I've been losing a lot. I'm losing a lot, guys, and I'm smiling while it's happening because I'm like, I don't give a crap. I'm playing so much new weird stuff. I'm beating people's teeth out with dinosaurs. I love this.
I also found it to be kind of fun to be like, okay, here's a new deck to solve the puzzle. Like, how do I beat this deck?
Yeah.
To me, like, I welcome that challenge. I think I think it's kind of lame to be like, oh, that is just a good deck, huh? All right.
Why are you getting mad at a good
that's
deck?
stupid, and you're stupid, and I hate you.
Yeah.
It's like, no, look, figure it out, man. Like, this is a game. Let's solve this little new puzzle. It's cool.
Yeah, I don't.
I know it did really well, but I'm just saying, like, treat it as a challenge. Like, this is there's this whole thing where there's a golf teacher who teaches his golf students, which are kids, that when they're like in a sand trap, like, don't be like mad about the fact that you're in a sand trap. Be like, okay, this is an opportunity to like do something really cool and challenging and try to get a perfect shot out of the sand trap. And then when you kind of think of it, when you adjust your perspective on it, suddenly like it's not some terrible oh woe is me situation. It's like, all right, let's see if we can solve this new little puzzle of this particular sand trap shot. And if you think about Hearthstone in a similar way, you're going to be like not so mad about, oh, the RNG went against me. It's like, all right, well, how do I win now that this bad luck happened to me? And it's a healthier way to look at the game if you can do it. I know it's not easy, but
yeah.
So I try to do it like that.
It's so obvious too with the quest. You see it coming a mile away. The second turn one, you see that pop up. You're just like, okay, cool. Like adapt to it, play for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they literally take their hand and they're like, all right, here's my hand.
Yeah.
All right, let's play a game now.
It could not be more obvious. I haven't lost to one. Well, yesterday was the day that I picked up the net decked discard lock because I spent the whole weekend never making it past rank 17. And I was like, okay, I want to find something. I want to just get to 15 and then start screwing around again because like my EP just needs rank 15. I can't live.
Well, and you can't lose stars at that rank.
Exactly.
Which I finally saw that message. I've never needed it before this season, but I finally saw that you can't lose stars.
The beauty of that too is you can blow past 15, 10, and 5 if you're playing good decks because everyone in there is messing around.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So that's so. And yesterday I ended up going, I think 10-0 with that discard lock, and I didn't see a single rogue, and I think it's because they left everyone behind. They won and moved up past, and then my first game into 15 was a rogue, and I beat him, and it was fine. It's all fine. You can beat this deck. I'm having trouble with other like non-quest rogues. As a matter of fact, I played some like mid-rangey rogue just before the show. Got my butt handed to me. I didn't even know what was happening.
There's some tempo rogues out there. By the way, let's talk about some mid-range stuff because we got some mid-range paladins as well.
Yeah, we do. I was winding up because we covered so many damn things. But yeah, where is it? You want to show yours? Or you want to show Jackie Chan's?
Let's show the one that I've got, and then we could kind of explain the Jackie Chan one is just kind of just doesn't use the Murlocs.
I'm about to zoom out on this extremely long.
But it has a lot of
here.
similar stuff.
All right. So Dills, this is your homebrew.
It kind of is. So it started off with the Murloc base that Tides of Time was using. And then I adjusted some stuff. Like I don't think he was using Curator. He wasn't using Black Knight. He wasn't using a lot of that stuff. And he was like double Vile Fin and all that kind of stuff. But basically, like the idea here is that your early mid-game stuff is Murlocs now. And Murlocs used to be this like aggressive deck, right? And now they're actually not. They're much more of a mid-range value type of minion set, which is really weird. So you play like your Vilefin Inquisitor on 1, and then you Hydrologist on 2, and then you Rockpool Hunter one of your Murlocs, and then kill something that get a value trade on something, and then you Murloc War Leader, and the next thing you know, you're like way ahead, right? And that just bridges you into the late game where you still have all this value that Paladin's kind of known for. So True Silver Champions. And the Vine Cleaver has been actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, my hat on that one.
Curator works so well because there's Beasts and Murlocs, and now you put in the one Primordial Drake, and so it's just kind of the whole thing. It's like you just bridge to the next step really well. And I'll say this too. So look, I teased you about Vine Cleaver, Garrett, but I got to give you credit where credit is due. Sunkeeper Tarim is dope. That card is amazing.
I'm glad to hear. Because that is I've been playing a mid-range paladin. One of the decks I played the least, by the way. I only played a few games with it, but I like it a lot. But I don't actually have Sunkeeper Tarim. I have dust coming out my ears, so I could just make him, but I wasn't sure. I didn't believe in it that much. So hearing you say that, I think is enough to push me over the edge, because I did defend the grinning obsidian monster that is Sunkeeper
Dude, he's
Tarim.
so good. But
He's
this is the thing
set
too.
everybody to 3/3s, right?
Yeah,
Except
yeah.
him.
He's a 3/7, yeah.
Yeah.
So and he has taunt. So the other beauty of him is you can get him with Stonehill Defender. So you a lot of times will end up in games where you're playing multiple Sunkeepers and multiple Tyrians and stuff like that because you're playing that Stonehill Defender.
That's disgusting.
It's
and
a
then
paladin card disguised as a
Vine
neutral.
Cleaver works really well with him because you play your Vine Cleaver, and then you swing and you get 2 1/1s, and then you hero power on turn 8, and then you play this guy and you get 3 extra 1/1s, and you clear up whatever's on their board, right? So it's like all of this works so well together with this deck.
Yeah, until they start playing around it. Until people realize that, much like during GVG, oh crap, tokens are scary in Paladin.
Sure. Somebody in chat just asked why no Finja, and the reason why there's no Finja in this deck is it's not running bluegills. It's running a bunch of Battlecry Murlocs. So you don't actually want those Murlocs to come out without their Battlecry. So even though it still would be okay because you're just getting 2 Murlocs, but
They're tokens,
they're not attacking right away, and they're not. Yeah, the reason why it was so good when you just run those 4 specific Murlocs is 2 of them charged and the other 2 buffed the chargers, right? So you got this really nice package. But here I'm like, no, I want to play my Rockpool Hunter and buff another Murloc, or I want a Hydrologist and get the secret, or I want to get the Primal Fin and draw another Murloc. Like I don't want to just shove these onto the board for free with no battle cry. So it doesn't quite work as well with this type of build. The other thing too, I'll say the Spike Ridge Steed is amazing too. That card is disgustingly good. You put it on a token, and then they kill it, and then a 2/6 taunt pops out, and you're just like, yeah.
I love it so
right,
much.
that's the spell, right?
Yeah. I've always wanted minion buffing to be a thing. Like, bad, and it's so risky, because you can get 2 for 1, and or 1 for 2, it's so hard. And I'm really happy to see Spike Ridge Steed, or not Spike Ridge, Spike Ridge Steed
Spike Ridge,
playing out.
And so I teched in some stuff here, but a lot of this was based on Tides of Time's original list. But and he got to like top 10 legend with this list, the version he was running. And I went something like 12-4 with it or something like that on stream. So I did really well with it. I was beating the crap out of Taunt Warriors, which that was kind of the key to me. I thought this might not do well against Taunt Warrior, and it turned out to do just fine. But the other thing, like, so that's when I teched in the Black Knight though, and from that moment on, I just never lost to another Taunt Warrior, right? It's just, Black Knight is so good right now. If you're wondering what your tech card could be, pretty much every deck is playing some sort of taunt outside of, like, Pirate Warrior, right? But, or I guess also the Rogue. But screw it. I beat the Rogue with this deck, too. It's totally fine.
Flipping fantastic.
Yeah. They make all their 5/5s and I quality and kill them. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't have too much to say on the Paladin front. I'll pull it up just real quick, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. If you want to see the deck list for this, it's one of the top Paladin decks on Hearthstone right now. We got a link in the show notes, but this is Jackie Chan's mid-range shaman.
Looks good.
I only played a few games with it. It seems very strong. I beat the snot out of my friend Robert with this today. It wasn't even close. I felt really bad. But,
so he's got the Lost in the Jungle with the Vine Cleaver, Stand Against Darkness, and Steward Light Fuse Stegodon kind of tech. He's got that little package in. So he's got the Silverhand Recruit package, which is kind of the difference, I think, here.
It is, yeah.
I destroyed this on ladder today.
Yeah. Instead of Murlocs, it's tokens, which is what which is what I've always wanted. I've wanted a token paladin, and that's what this is. I don't know if it's good. I've won like 3 games with it. Jocelyn slammed it once. That is not a sample size, so who knows? But
what are you talking about? That's it. That's all you needed.
Yeah, it's 3-1. My God,
this looks pretty good to me. I think this deck is also like you can kind of go either direction with mid range.
Disgusting and wild.
Right.
Oh, yes. I'm with you, Jocelyn. And yes, this means I'm running Vine Cleaver. But I pulled a golden one, so why not?
So yeah,
And,
that's
dude, it's
good.
a great one of. It really is.
It is.
It's definitely never a two of.
It is. I was absolutely wrong. I'm happy
But like
to be
Gorehowl
wrong.
is a 7-mana weapon that you play one of, and you never play more than one of. This is a 7-mana weapon that ends up in the end kind of getting the same amount of value that a Gorehowl will get, right? I mean, you're not going to kill 7 minions with it or whatever, but Gorehowl doesn't usually kill 7 minions. It kills like 4, and then it, maybe hits the
rest
face
goes
or
face,
something at that
yeah.
point. Yeah, but like Vine Cleaver gets 12 damage and 6 1/1s.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
no, I can dig it.
a lot.
I like it.
And if you're
I'm-
adapting those 1/1s or, doing all your other stuff that you can do in this deck, turning them into 3/3s, I mean, hell yeah.
Yep. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, cool. I think it's going to end it for now. Obviously, that's not it. Like, for decks, there's a lot more. Chat room's been throwing around all kinds of ideas. That's just what we're going to talk about for here because we're already at 1 hour plus. We're at
I knew this was going to happen.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're
like
like 90 minutes here. We're at like 90 minutes here. So let's
But we're not doing 3 hours. So.
no, we're not. We're going to wrap this up with a single email right now.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh,
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com, and emails this week and this entire episode, like always, are brought to you by our fantastic patrons over at patreon.com/TAC. As always, I mean, we've been doing the show for a while. We've had the Patreon for a while. It's still insane that so many of you go that one step further to head on over there and actually support the show with a quarter, 50 cents, $1, $5, and some of you a lot more. And I love you, but I also, I'm curious why. That's awesome. Whatever the case is, we really do appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. We would not have been able to play as many games of Hearthstone before this episode without you all. So thank you. This episode, thank you to the following patrons. Thank you to KT Lau, Michael C, Vic H, Jacob, no last name given, Kenny, no last name given, Myrishka, no last name given, LVEMPWS. Not a lot of last names this week, but thank you all so much for supporting the show. And Dills, who is the email from today?
We got something from Eric who says, "Hey guys, I opened 80 packs, got 2 legendaries, and a seemingly excessive amount of duplicates for the rare epic cards. Seems to be a common occurrence. Yet another launch issue? Question mark." So this was, let's get into it. This was the Reddit topic. So everybody was complaining day one that there was some sort of pack bug that basically meant they were getting less legendaries than they were supposed to, more duplicates than they were supposed to, and clearly Blizzard had done this on purpose and was a bunch of greedy bastards. That was kind of the
theories abound.
Yes, that was the day one Reddit conspiracy that was going on. So I kind of want to kind of address a couple things about this before we talk about the math of it or whatever.
You have opinions about this? I figured.
Yeah.
I figured you were just kind of.
Basically, this this is just anecdotal evidence, right? But then anecdotal evidence turned up to 11 by the fact that everybody who opened packs and it felt normal, didn't say a word, went to the game and played, and had fun. Everybody who didn't went on to Reddit and made a post, and so what it looked like was, oh my God, there's 15 posts. This must be happening to everybody, right? And so that's just basically it's a similar situation to what happens to us sometimes where there's lots of people who maybe enjoy the show, and then there's 3 troll asshats who say something mean, and then it affects our mood for a week or whatever. When the reality of it is if we knew about all those people who are having a good time listening to the content and weren't saying a word because it was fulfilling their needs,
It was good, yeah.
we would know the ratio is very small. And so the ratio of people who felt that they were cheated is actually much smaller than what it's perceived to be if you read Reddit. It looks like everybody had this terrible experience. But in fact, the proportional correct number of people had bad luck, and the proportional correct number of good people had good luck because variance exists when you're opening packs.
3 legendaries in 1 pack.
Yeah, Jocelyn got 3 legendaries. We were luckily part of the group that didn't feel like we got boned, and it sucks for the people who do feel that way. And I think that doesn't mean that their experience is invalid and that it isn't something that maybe Blizzard could discuss and invest some time into figuring out how to make people who spent $50 not feel like they didn't get $50 worth. I do agree that that's bad, and maybe there should be some other thing to go along with that. So that's worth discussing. But it's not worth discussing that Blizzard is cheating us on purpose. And because, look, Blizzard didn't have to give us free dust when they moved cards into Wild. They didn't have to give us 33% of the packs that we opened when they messed up last time. They didn't have to do end of the season rewards. They don't have to do any of this stuff.
Actually,
they are.
They
could do more.
Inject.
But they are. Sure. Go ahead.
Something there. You're bringing up the pack issue that happened last time, where they came out and said, "Hey, we screwed it up. Here's your dust." If I was Mr. Hearthstone and was in charge of all this,
Johnny Hearthstone.
Yeah, if I was Johnny Hearthstone and this was my product, and I saw this kind of like reaction, the expansion after we had an issue like that, and we openly admitted that it was our bad and gave a refund, I'd be thinking, well, maybe we shouldn't admit when we actually make a mistake in the future, because it makes the rest of you guys put on your tinfoil hats and complain.
Sure. Maybe there was a little bit where people were thinking, hey, man, we complained last time. Maybe we could get some free stuff.
A little bit of that too. Yeah. And I'd be lying if when I saw this coming out, I'm like, well, if there is an issue, cool. That means free stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that people are a little bit more sensitive this time because there was an issue last time. So it's kind of like forefront of their mind. You know, you're going into the next expansion after there was an issue with the last expansion. You're going to be paying a lot more attention to, okay, how many rares did I get? How many epics? How many legendaries? And how many duplicates of those? Is there an issue? And I feel like there is an issue because I had a particularly bad pack opening. Whereas if we hadn't had a launch issue last time, I don't think we would have seen any of this discussion.
Probably not. Yeah. So I want to kind of talk to the other side of this a little bit, because I do play a lot of these other games, right? And Blizzard has not necessarily put in some of the same stuff that these other games are putting in. So like when I play Eternal, like every time I win on the ladder, I get a little bit of gold, and I get a little chest that I open, and I get a little bit of gold, and I get a card, and that card is usually like a bad card, but it's like a card, right? And sometimes it turns out to be like a card I didn't have or something like that, which I could dust if I didn't need it or whatever. But that's every win, right? And that's crazy. And then every 3 wins, it's like the reward is slightly better. And then they also, every time you open a pack, not only do you get their packs are a little more expensive, but they're 15 card Magic style things, right? But when you open a pack, you also get a little bit of dust, their version of dust, which is like some rocks or crystals or something like that. But basically, every time you open a pack, a little bit of dust as well. So you're kind of getting, it's like I open a bunch of packs, and not only are my duplicates a quarter dust value, but I also get a little bit of dust per pack, which means it's like it softens that blow a little, where you feel like, oh, I only got this dust because I got all these duplicates. Like, this dust is not really that good. And I think that's definitely a valid thing, where maybe there's some room for Blizzard to put in a couple of more ways to make people feel like they get value even when their luck is bad. Because that I can get on board with. I can't get on board with blaming Blizzard as if they're, some diabolical in the background, changing the numbers and the buttons and stuff. But I can get on board with the fact that maybe there's possible ways to make it feel better when you have bad luck. And and I loved the daily login rewards. I would love it if that continued. There's so many things.
Stealing my points.
I'm not stealing your points. I'm talking.
I know, but that was literally the next thing I was going to say. Is that
you were the only one who thought of that? Come on.
All right, fine.
Go ahead. No,
Shoot the ball, Jordan.
Those are things that I wanted to say about it.
Yeah. I think that you're right, that the daily login rewards, I think, were really well received. And I think that if that was something that they continued, even if it was something along the lines of what other games do with daily logins, where it's like a progressive thing. So you start off getting a very low reward, say like 25 dust or something, that builds up to like a pack reward if you do consecutive days. I think something like that even would make the community feel a lot more happy, even when they have really bad luck and big pack openings and stuff. But also, if they were consistently getting rewards for basically just not even playing the game, just opening the game, I think people would be a lot happier.
Yeah, and also, am I the only one who's thinking, why in God's name did you stop giving free stuff now that people can actually buy the new thing? Shouldn't
Yeah.
you incentivize people to be in your game with like hot new purchasable content? Just like they're teasing you, like, "Hey, Garrett, Dills is still opening cards. Don't you want to drop another $70?"
It's true. No, you're absolutely right. And like if they give you a little bit more free stuff, you might feel like I'm just like 5 cards short of this deck. So I want to buy a few more packs and I'm going to make sure I get to this deck, right? Like I think that's right now it's like people feel like they're so far from creating a deck or on the amount of decks they were hoping to create that they're just like, you know what? Screw it. Screw the game. I'm done. Like I can't even make a deck. And that's a feeling that should be avoided at all costs. You
Yes.
should always feel like you're close. You just need a little bit more. So hopefully this doesn't turn into, Blizzard just and the community just kind of being combatants. Hopefully this is like Blizzard looks at it and goes, yeah, a lot of this is just bull, but there's some stuff here where if we can avoid people feeling bad after spending $50 on our game, that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
I hope that's the outcome.
I agree. Like you said, like I looked at a lot of this, and I went on a rant on Twitter yesterday because I was just getting kind of fed up with it. But you're right. If you cut through the crap, there's actually some valid discussions here. I think the big one to have is just with this expansion in general, because of quests, which I think are awesome, and I don't want to not have them, but I get it. You injected a higher chunk of cards locked behind the legendary rarity. There's a discussion to be had there. I get it. No, I'm not going to listen to you, Mr. Quests are required to have fun in this expansion. You're just wrong. You're just straight up wrong. Delete your comment. But I get the idea behind of it's just like if I'm trying to play on a budget, it feels like I have to. It just got a lot harder to get as much as I feel like I got out of previous expansions.
Sure. And obviously there's always the discussion of other games. And so just real quick for people, for perspective, if standard rotation comes around to Magic and you want a viable competitive deck, you'll probably have to drop about $200, $300 on that one deck. And that will be your only deck.
That's not everything, right? That doesn't give you any variety.
That will
that's
be
like,
your
that's
only
one deck.
You will play that deck, and then when the next rotation comes around, you don't sell it for exactly the $300 you spent because it is rotated out. So you could probably get, I don't know, $100 maybe. Sometimes you get lucky and some of your cards are worth a lot more, but most of the time it's not. They're worth less. And then you got to drop your $300 again to get your fresh, new, shiny one deck for that rotation. So in the grand scheme of things, Hearthstone is still very cheap when I can spend $100 and basically have the entire set, right? So I just want to put some perspective on it as well. That in a card game world, and people always make the argument that these cards are worth nothing because you can't sell them back. But Magic cards don't appreciate the way people are assuming they do. They generally go down.
Right. There's a select few, and it's a tiny percentage of every card ever made that like are going to be an investment that you're going to go out, buy, put under glass, and save for a rainy day.
Yep.
And you probably can't afford them right now. I know I can't. So, yeah, and I get it too. Like that's my argument always. Is I'm like, guys, it's a card game first, video game second, and the counter argument I always hear, it's both. It's a card game and a video game. And to that I say, I think the price lands in between that pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not as expensive as Magic.
It's not a AAA title. It's not Magic. It's not like everyone's comparing it to stuff. It just isn't. So
yeah, it's not as expensive as Magic. It's more expensive than your standard AAA title.
Yep.
But
you'll play it every day if you like it.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't like it, so you won't play it every day. So maybe don't spend money on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's there's so many different ways to play this game. There's so many mindsets to put yourself in to get fulfillment out of this game. That I mean, it comes back to a point that I feel like you bring up all the time, Dills, which is like you can't have everything. You really can't have everything, depending on what you want to do.
Sure.
If you're trying to play on a budget, you're not going to be able to play every single damn meta deck, and that's always been true. It definitely got harder. It definitely got more difficult because of how many darn legendaries are in this set, but not that much more difficult.
But I will say this too, though. Like $100 did get me basically the whole set, but that's also because I had a bunch of gold saved up, right?
You had a bunch of gold, and you had a bunch of dust. A lot of
Yeah.
free-to-play players probably didn't get as much dust as you did.
Yeah. But if you play like a lot, and and I play a lot, so I end up having a lot of gold. There's a couple of things here. Like one, I will never be spending gold on an adventure ever again. So every expansion that comes around, all of that gold will be pretty much saved up for a brand new bunch of expansion packs.
With the
right?
exception of Heroic Tavern Brawl.
Well, if you don't play it, yeah. Because I played it like once or whatever, and it still was like a big sink for me.
Yeah,
but,
I pay cash.
Yeah, you have to if you choose not to do that, then yeah, it'll be great for you. If you choose to do that, you're not somebody who this matters for anyway, right? Like, if you're blowing 1,000 gold on Heroic Tavern Brawl, you're probably also blowing some money every time a new expansion comes around. So, but it's just like you can get away like $100 per expansion. I think is that's a fine amount of money to be expected to have to pay to try to get all of the cards, plus all the gold and whatever dust, right? I think that fits into a pocket that I can deal with.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, that seems cheap to me when I think about how much it would cost me to collect an entire Magic set every time one comes out. But and it is unrealistic. That's not going to be the case for Hearthstone going forward. You're not going to have that much dust at the beginning of every set anymore. Like you said, you're already out of it. Your dust is gone. You've spent it all. So it is more expensive than that. So maybe there's a discussion to be had there. Someone in chat room whose name has already gone flying by, because this is obviously an interesting topic for Hearthstone players. But a lot
of people have very strong opinions.
Yeah,
about
someone
this.
mentioned the $10 starter pack that had a guaranteed legendary. Why not do that for every set? Like, will that really offset the profits enough? Like giving one guaranteed legendary for $10 and like 5 packs or whatever. Was it 5 packs and a legendary?
I think it was 10 packs and a
It
legendary.
was 10 packs and a legendary. It was a good deal. They should definitely revisit that. That was great.
I can't imagine that that hurts your profits so much.
No.
And I feel that was a feel-good situation. I went and bought it. I have almost every basic and classic card. There's a few.
I love the
legendaries
idea
I'm missing.
too of the at the beginning of your pack. Like if you buy the pre-order at the beginning of pack opening, like you know, in the way you got Cthulhu. I love the idea of like picking one quest, and it's like, okay, you get that one, and so everybody knows they got at least one quest of their choosing, and so it's not just the same one for everybody. Like that would have been cool. There's lots of ways that it would have been really cool. So that's the kind of stuff I'm hoping Blizzard is like, yeah, that would have been cool. We could do that.
Yeah,
You know.
Yeah, I like the idea too. If you're gonna let people pick quests, let them wait. Let them wait like 2 weeks. Like put a 2-week timer on that thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people would have made a mistake there. There would have been a ton of, of Warlock quests being selected. Yeah.
And the Hunter quest.
I am Zogex, by the way, chat. Doing dailies every day, 60 gold a day, 22k gold, 66 packs per expansion. Like, there's that, and then there's also the 10 gold per 3 wins that you'll be building up over time, too. So it's actually, you can get a lot of dust, or a lot of gold in the 4 months between expansions if you're a consistent player.
Yeah.
Like, a ton.
Yeah, because I think the gold cap is what, 150 a day?
100 a day. But
100 a day.
It's hard to reach that. That's 30 wins or whatever.
That's 30, yeah, so 30 wins a day, yeah, but 100 gold a day. So basically a pack a day.
Yep.
Yeah, which is way better when it's Hearthstone.
Sure.
So, well, awesome. Eric, thank you for writing in. Everyone who disagrees with us to the point where you probably are screaming at your earbuds, thank you for suffering through this discussion. And we probably won't cover extremely volatile counterpoints because we've seen enough of them already this week.
Yeah.
Anyways, send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. As always, thank you. Thank you so much. Our epic patrons over at patreon.com/TAC for supporting us, especially our producers, Declan H. and Peter Williams. You two continue to go above and beyond the amount we thought anyone would ever pay us to talk about video games. You can find more about The Angry Chicken over at amove.tv or youtube.com/amovetv. The show's Twitter is at TAC Podcast, and you can catch us live Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time right here on twitch.tv/amovetv. Dills, where can folks find you?
On Twitter, I'm at Willie Dills, and twitch.tv/Willie Dills. Had a fantastic stream on the launch, and there's going to be a lot more coming up. So, we reached 400 subs again. So thank you guys for all the love and support that day. It was great, and really got me motivated to keep bringing you the Ngoro content every single day. So check me out there.
Jocelyn, how about yourself?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at JossPlays. You can find me right here on twitch.tv/amovetv every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for The Gamers Inn, which is my general gaming podcast.
Awesome. Folks, you can find me on Twitter at Garrett Art, and every podcast I do can be found at amove.tv. Check out Into the Nexus for Heroes of the Storm. Check out For Azeroth for World of Warcraft. And check out my solo show, The Angry Nerd, where I ramble about random things that honestly don't make me angry, usually things I'm particularly passionate about, which lately has been Zelda. So go check that out. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yeah!